My name is Chad Hoover.
My name is Brandon Overstreet.
My name is Russell Dillon.
My name is Alfonso Jack.
My name is Lisa Bennett.
I'm Jack Snore.
Cody Prather here.
My name is Matt Ball.
My name is Josh Carter.
My name is James Bush.
My name is Luke Stocking.
My name is Jeff Jones.
Brian Volpe.
My name is Jeff Hodge.
My name is Kevin Franklin.
My name is Jamie Clancy.
My name is Lonnie Ellaby.
My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast, the podcast that's bringing you the stories of how God is working in and through fishermen from all around the fishing community. I'm your host Cam, and as always we've got a jam-packed show today, but first I'm excited to let you know about another sponsor that we've gotten to team up with. I'm talking about Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, which is an awesome paddle and bike shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, with an amazing selection of kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, Orion coolers, paddles, PFDs, Yak Attack and other kayak accessories, apparel, kayak cushions, and more. And that's not even touching the biking side of the store. Get Outdoors also offers classes, demo days, kayak repair and outfitting, and expert rack installation. You can check them out at shopgetoutdoors.com, or for the full experience, stop by the shop there in Greensboro. You can't miss it. Look for the orange top building. I did get to do a little bit of fishing recently on a new body of water, and it was brutal. The heat was just miserable, but I did end up getting one, which made me feel good considering I was in an environment I have never fished before. I'm talking about grass, specifically hydrilla. Almost the entire lake was full of it, over 8 feet of it in places. I am very, very new to grass fishing, especially grass so tall that there's not enough water over it to rip stuff out of it and let it sink back into it. But I'm looking forward to learning it and adding that to my arsenal. And if you have any tips for fishing that kind of grass, send them over my way. The one I did catch came on a paddle tail ran across the surface. I'm not going to lie, it's been a while since I've had a really good topwater strike. Man, it was awesome. I tossed it back into this area beyond some of the surface vegetation, and as soon as it started moving, the wake was coming, then boom. Man, topwater is addicting. Something else you want to make sure you check out. I got the chance to be on Paddle and Fin's OG show, which is their main, or I guess their original show. I'm not gonna lie, it was different and even a little bit nerve-wracking being on a live show, but we had a good time talking about podcasting, and you should definitely go check that one out. I'll leave a link in the show notes. But yeah, like I said, we've got a jam-packed episode with Nicholas Beltran, and we'll be talking about the NRS Chinook PFD, but first, let's dive in and learn from my mistake. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out about this segment. I haven't had this much feedback on anything involved in the podcast yet, so it was really awesome hearing y'all's reaction to it. So this time we are going to be talking about spinning reels. Now, when I first started getting back into fishing after my college years hiatus, I started back up with spinning reels. It was a step up from the Spincast Zebcos from my childhood, but they weren't as intimidating as bait casters. The first mistake I made was using monofilament line as my main line. Looking back now, there are definitely little tricks I could have used to make my life easier, such as running hot water over the spool, using Reel Magic, or even better, buying line that's not the really cheap $3 for a 600-yard spool that I found at Walmart. But line memory in a spinning reel from monofilament line is horrible. It comes off like a slinky. It ends up in a lot of cases causing a worse bird's nest than most I've had on bait casters. And like if you're fishing like a popper, something that you want to stay in one spot, that slinky kind of motion ends up pulling it back towards you before you get a chance to let those ripples settle. But that being said, when I started using braid, I quickly learned another lesson. That is that if you tie your braid straight to your spool, unless your spool has a little rubber spot or something to catch your line, it will eventually just spin around the spool, meaning that when you reel, nothing happens. Nothing is worse than finally getting a day off, getting packed up, driving 2 hours to a new body of water, and have to turn around and come back because none of your reels will pull in line. There are a couple different ways you can get around this. One is to use a mono backing. Use some of that cheap mono line you have laying around to get some around the spool, then tie off to braid and use that as your main line. Another way is to use a little piece of medical or electrical tape. Put a wrap or two around your spool and then tie your braid to that. What both of these things are doing is giving that braid something to dig into and grab a hold of. A metal spool just doesn't give that, and that line just spins around with nothing to grab a hold of. So, there you go. Don't make that mistake. Now, let's turn on the spotlight and check out my PFD. Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle in Greensboro, North Carolina offers a huge variety of kayaks, kayak accessories, stand-up paddle boards, coolers, and bikes and biking accessories from all your favorite brands like Yak Attack, Bonafide, NRS, Bending Branches, Kayak Cushion, Orion Coolers, Perception, Native, and many more. Get Outdoors offers demo days, rentals, repairs and outfitting, expert rack installation, as well as courses to get you comfortable in your new boat. Check them out at shopgetoutdoors.com or stop by the shop and tell them Faith and Fishing sent you. Ask a few kayak fishermen about their favorite PFD and the NRS Chinook is bound to come up more than once. Last year, off of many recommendations from my friends and reviews from other fishermen, I pulled the trigger and got myself a Chinook. So let's talk about what makes this thing special. First and foremost, does it keep me afloat? Yes. That's not really a major surprise. I mean, if you get the right size, any Coast Guard approved PFD will. Second, and usually the top of the list for most, is comfort. I did not hate the PFD I came from, but their sizing method had me end up right in the middle of their two sizes. I made it work, but I usually ended up with some pretty bad chafing at the end of the day. The Chinook is super comfortable. I think it has something like 6 adjustment points, and the sizing just makes more sense than certain other brands out there. So moving and paddling, I end up forgetting I have the thing on. The other main thing for kayak fishing PFDs is pockets and attachment points. I have multiple tethers in my pockets which hold my phone, line cutters, forceps, and hook sharpener with plenty of room, and the attachment points hold my pliers and my knife, which is always important, but especially when I'm using my anchor, because I'm always worried about getting tangled in my lines or my anchor line if I end up in the water. If I ever go out on big water, there's still more room for the emergency clip-on light and a radio if I ever need it. This product really doesn't need me to say much more about it, but if you haven't tried one, you should really feel the difference. You can get yours at Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle online at shopgetoutdoors.com, or you can head into the shop to try one on and have one of their experts get it adjusted for the perfect fit. Alright, so now let's get talking about Nicholas. Savior Outdoors means peace of mind out on the water. Savior makes retrieval devices for fishing rods, bow fishing bows, action cams, and more, so when you drop your gear in the water, you can get it back, meaning that you don't have to panic when your gear goes in the drink. Check out SaviorOutdoors.com, that's SAVUR Outdoors.com, to learn more and to try them for yourselves. And since you're a Faith and Fishing listener, you'll get 15% off of your purchase whenever you use promo code FNFP15. If you spent any time looking at fishing stuff on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, you've probably come across the name Nicholas Beltran, or at least his brand, Tackle Fishing Adventures. Nicholas is from Miami and spends time hunting one of the fish that is on my own and many of y'all's bucket lists, the mighty peacock bass. Nicholas, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, man? Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on, Cal.
Absolutely. So to get us started off, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and tell us a little bit about. I'm sorry. Is it fishing tackle adventures or tackle fishing adventures?
Don't worry about it. It's tackle fishing adventures. Yeah. My name's Nicholas, by the way. Nicholas Beltran. I'm native here to Miami, Florida. Been fishing here all my life. Been born and raised here. I did live in Sacramento for a couple of months. So I kind of got the gist of fishing the, Sacramento, North California area. Nothing, man. I've been fishing since I was really young, and ever since I met with these plastic boats, kayaks, I've been involved very, very much. Other than that, I've just been really focused on trying to promote myself as far as the channel. The Tackle Fishing Adventure channel. I've been loving the fact that I'm able to share my experiences and my adventures with everybody. So if anybody can learn from me or get involved as I did, that would be a benefit for not just the industry, but for everybody that can appreciate nature as much as I do.
Absolutely. And what was it that got you into fishing in the first place?
Oh, well, I have to thank my father. I mean, and it's very typical down here in Florida where it's the state is very fishing oriented. So it's not something where I was like, I had to be forced into.
Right.
Something I just picked up on the way because it was always there. So, but the most, I would say the most would be my father. I mean, whenever I was on the weekend with him, he would be taking me out, freshwater fishing, either canal system or lake. Very rarely would go out saltwater fishing, which is the norm here. But I did do that eventually when I started getting older. I started learning about fishing and learning different techniques and I got involved with saltwater, and I saltwater fished for a while until I got back into doing freshwater like I am now.
Absolutely. And what was it that got you started from a kayak?
From a kayak, well, I would have to thank one of my father's actually good friends of his. They used to go fishing with him a lot when I was younger. Kwanzaa Henderson, real big name in this industry. Unfortunately, he passed.
Yeah.
About a couple months ago, and it's been kind of hard. I mean, a lot of people know him. If you don't know who the Kwanzaa Henderson, and you guys research him, he kind of got me involved in the fishing. He's one of those guys you go out with that are very, very excited when he catches anything. So he got me involved in it. I never really even thought about kayak fishing until he came aboard and we started fishing more when I got older. And it was like dynamite there. It just was an explosion. It just was waiting to happen. And he introduced me into Old Town kayaks. That was the first kind of kayak I kind of got get into for the first time to catch. And then I went on buying my own kayak, which is a small Lifetime, like an 8-foot kayak at the time. And so I just, little by little, it was like a ball that just kept rolling. So that's where I'm at now.
I hear you. And what are you fishing out of now?
Right now I'm fishing out of a Native Titan 12.
Oh man, that's a big boat.
Yeah, man, I went too big for me, for me now. I mean, it held for what it was supposed to, and that was for my. I did a lot of tournament fishing for the first time last year, and I would go to a tournament every month for the past 12 months. So it was good for that. I mean, I definitely recommend the boat to anybody. I mean, the Native, they have a real good lineup of kayaks and well made kayaks, and built here in the U.S. So if anything that's been built in the U.S. is pretty much a really good buy,
Absolutely. So when was it that you started filming your outings?
I would say, man, it was really quick because I was already kind of tech savvy at the time. I was already familiar with YouTube and filming myself and stuff like that, but I didn't really film it as serious as I am now. And when I say that, I mean I'm still learning how to do it. So it's a it's a progress that doesn't stop. I'm always learning something. And as this technology progresses, also, you know, I guess my gain and the knowledge of it keeps progressing. So, I think it was like 6 months maybe after I started getting into the YouTube thing and sharing.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about building a brand for just a second here. Because you seem to be someone who's very good at that. Because it wasn't long that I started kind of paying attention to this, trying to get the Faith and Fishing brand out there, and it seemed like your name was everywhere. So kind of give us like if there's a tip or a couple tips that you can give us on like starting from zero and building a brand in the fishing industry. What kind of tips do you have for us?
Sure. First, don't get encouraged, because in the beginning, and I say that not just for not for promotion or doing what you're trying to do, or what pretty much everybody that's starting this thing is trying to do, is don't fall very quickly, because there's a lot of people out there that like to hate, you know, people out there that like to share their opinions, and you just got to take those opinions, take them as, you know, I guess faith-based, and then just go on from there and continue doing what you're doing. Because like what you just said, you finished saying, is that you've been hearing my name, you've been seeing my name out there. I try to stay very consistent. Now there's a limit to that, there's a balance to that, and I understand that. I try to be as fluid, as very honest, and as very grounded as I can. And I guess that's what the company see. That's what most of the guys that I fished with, most of my friends that I've picked up since I've been in this industry. And it's been only like, I would say 3 years, solid 3 years that I've been doing this. So it hasn't been very that long. It's just, you know, I try to stay consistent. I don't go fishing all the time. I work at a hospital as an anesthesia tech. I work 5 days and I'm on call maybe 2 weekends in a month. And I have a son, and, you know, and I'm sure everybody else has other, you know, their situations, but I have all those situations, yet I still try to remain as consistent as possible on either social media or whenever I meet a person in a company or someone who's interested in my stuff. You know, I'm not biased. That's one thing you should not be doing when you get involved in this, is not to be biased. You want to be as humble and as appealing to anybody that you meet, and just, you know, have fun. I guess that's another big one that I've been taught that, because in the beginning you kind of tend to step aside from that having fun, that side of fishing, and you just want to get this picture, you want to get this video, you want to get this, and that can kind of cloud your demeanor when you're fishing. But the most important thing is just to have fun when you're doing it, and if you're having fun, everything else comes along, and that's pretty much what has been happening with me now.
That's awesome. And have you found like a sweet spot in terms of consistency? Is it like whenever you're posting on social media, is it every day? Is it every other day?
Well, I'll tell you what other people tell me when they tell me, oh, you have a secret? It's not really a secret. It's just, and I'll tell you, it's just, so because I'm limited in time, I only go, like, it seems like I fish a lot. When you look at my social media, it seems like I go fishing every day. I go every other hour, you know, but I honestly don't. I go fishing maybe once every other weekend. And my method is to, and I tell everybody that's asking, is whenever I'm out there, I just try to take as much video and as much pictures as I can. And one big thing I do is the videos, what I do is I try to like snip some clips out of the videos and try to get a nice shot, and then copy and paste that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it. You just take a picture within the video in order to, yeah, you know what I mean? Because a video, you have a long time that's running, and then you can actually sit down and actually look at that. That's probably the only time consuming thing it is looking in the video and then actually trying to get a good angle, a good shot. And once I have a lot, I go ahead and I just try to post at least once every day, you know? And that's about it. I mean, there's nothing really much I can tell you about that.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. So, all right. So let's dive into your faith a little bit. So in a nutshell, what is it that you believe in, and kind of tell us the story of how you came to believe in that?
Honestly, I respect everybody's belief. You know, I'm not real religious. But I do respect everybody's belief, and my true religion right now is my family and this passion I have for fishing. So that's pretty much what I can say about that. But again, I respect everybody's beliefs. I think that, if you're happy and you're equally enjoying the life that you're living and you respect others, I think that should be the best thing, you know, for you and for me in that aspect.
Absolutely. So, since you are not super religious, I'm going to kind of take this opportunity to kind of pick your brain just a little bit, in terms of, so we are in a very divided time in our country right now.
Agreed.
And it seems like Christians are kind of at the forefront of that. They are in the, how do I put this? They are, or I guess we are, we're kind of making things worse. Do you kind of see that from the outside looking in, the same way that I do, in terms of, Christians tend to stir the pot in a bad way a lot of times?
Well, I mean, to be very honest with you, Cameron, I'm not a very judgmental person, so I don't like to analyze so much, you know, because there's a lot of, you know, I know Christians, you know, I have friends that are Christians, and I grew up, at the time as a Christian. But all I gotta say is that I think this whole issue that's happening in this world has to do with how we act upon situations. Now, I do agree, and I agree with a lot of people that I've heard about this scenario is, you know, you kind of have to, and like whenever there's like a dire situation or a problem in the world that's going on and all that stuff, people have to the more we come together on things, the more that we keep our biases to ourselves and we keep our opinions to ourselves, and we just try to do as good as possible. I think that's the key to all this. Also, we need to mention the things that we have problems with. Because if you don't mention those things, if those things are not out there for people to have debates on or people to have, you know, talks over, there ain't going to be any change. Now, you're asking me, do I think this is a Christian thing? Do I think this is a specific type of group of people? I don't. I think that human beings are nature to do what we've been witnessing to do. Now, at the length that it's happening, at the quality that it's happening is another thing. But the fact that we are not perfect as either human beings, as Christians, as whatever you feel yourself as being, the main thing I think that we all, as far as the majority, think and share a passion for is to try to have peace, respect, and to live life to the fullest, because we're not promised tomorrow. So the more you see your life happening right now and worrying about what's going on right now and not worrying about so much about the past or so much about the future, I think that we can share and appreciate more as a whole the world we live in right now.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. So even someone who isn't necessarily religious, I know faith still plays a part whenever it comes to fishing. How is it that faith and fishing kind of collide to you?
Collide to me. Faith and fishing.
Where do the two meet?
Where do the two meet? I guess at the end of the line.
That's an awesome answer.
You know, like, you never know what you're going to catch, if it's going to be a big one or a small one or, you know, different type, especially down here where there's so many exotic fish, so many different species.
Absolutely, man. So, this question is one I ask all of my guests, and I absolutely love asking it. What fishing story or memory means the most to you, man?
Means the most to me. Man, I have so many adventures out there that it's so hard to answer that question. Man, the one that means to me would have to be the first time I took out my wife and she caught herself her first bass. That would have to be the first one. I mean, she's never really seen a bass. She comes from Cuba, so she's never really seen one or even that catch one. So that was a real treat for me. And then my son afterwards.
Absolutely. And whenever you're out fishing with somebody, whether it be a family member, your wife or your kids, or whether it be like another content creator or something, what are you typically talking about? What's your conversation centered around?
Well, that's one thing that I think a lot of anglers do when they're out there together, is that it's a part of them that comes out. It's totally different than when you meet up on land. On water, it's a total different thing. I think that as far as my experiences, I've always been very deep with the other person. That's when we figure out who's who in the water. You know what I mean? That's when you can test out the limits of that person's patience or non-patience. There's other factors that you learn about a person, but I think that's the best thing to do, is you go out in nature. It doesn't really have to even be fishing. It could be hunting or doing anything outdoors. I think that's where you're going to find the true inner deep self of that other person, either a friend or someone you met for the first time. So, and especially in a competitive environment, what I learned last year is you really see, and as far as my experience has always been positive, and I've always saw a lot of help, especially in that competitive circuit, is a lot of help, a lot of willing to, hey, we're doing this competitively, but we're still are loyal to either making friends or being friends out in the water, willing to give a helping hand whenever we need, even if you're going for thousands of dollars. Always cool to hang out in the water with anyone.
Absolutely, man. So what life advice do you wish you had been able to start off with?
Man, that's deep. Okay. What life advice? Man, it's a good one. Man, I wish they would have told me to get a boat before I know this is not a life advice, but I feel like this plastic material that I've been fishing on for the past couple of years, if I would have gotten it a lot earlier, I would have learned a lot more.
For sure.
For sure. And I would have met a lot of cool people like I've met recently. I've met a lot of cool people. That's one thing that I wish someone would have told me beforehand, was because I was very solaced. I had my friends, I had my group of friends, but I didn't really venture out to try to see how awesome people are. And I think that's something as a humanist that I am, that I've become. I think that's where I got it rooted from. There's this passion of fishing. It's such an awesome sport that it's one of those things you can't really explain that well to other people, but you could introduce it to them as much as I have, and it's like a new light that you see in their eyes. So if there was a life advice I would have liked to get, was to, hey, jump on a kayak and go out there and see what you've been missing. You know what I mean? Or you're going to miss.
Absolutely. And what about fishing advice? Is there a particular piece of fishing advice you wish you had started off with?
Yeah, don't stick with one method. If you have one method that worked for you or works for you, don't stop there. Continue on learning, because the more you learn, the more in depth you're going to get into this sport, and the more you become the predators of the fish that you're catching. As much as I can tell you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the most recent method that you've
Well, actually, but I've always struggled with punching and flipping. So I bought myself a setup not too long ago, and I've just been really trying to hammer on that. But because of my surgery, I'm kind of off for a while, so I can't go back. But I'm ready to go hit those. I haven't really shared it on my social media because I've been keeping whenever you're trying to learn something, I try to hide that a little bit. I know I shouldn't. That's just showing people how the development of fishing is. But it's something that I really had always trouble on doing, and I'm can't wait to go back out there and start doing that, punching and flipping on these mats. So one of the things.
Awesome. I don't have a whole lot of mats here and heavy vegetation to punch into. Otherwise, that would be one I would probably be doing a lot of.
Yeah, it's a cool way to catch them. Especially those big guys that are here under those mats. And it's one of those things where you hear it. I used to hear it when I was young. And I used to see it. These professionals, you got Roland Martin and all these guys go out there slamming huge 10-pounders, 11 double-digit bass under these mats, and I would always thought to myself, how do they get through those things? How are the bass getting into those things? And dude, I went out once with one of my good friends out there kayak fishing, and he did the flipping thing, and then he caught one, and I was like, what? I have to learn how to do that. So the heat of the day is what's going to bring them in there. So that's why I'm waiting for the summer to hit so I can go out there and practice more.
Man, I more power to you. The summer in Miami is not my kind of place.
Oh yeah, it can hit you. It can hit you hard.
For sure. So, one of the things that comes up on your social media a lot is one of the fish that sits at the top of my bucket list, and that's the peacock bass.
Oh yeah.
So, what fish that you haven't caught yet sits at the top of your bucket list?
Man, you know what? Smallmouth.
Absolutely.
So out of the fish you see on my social media, out of all the fish that you see there, will always be my favorite, even though I catch a lot of peacock bass, will be the largemouth. There's just something about a bass that I really can't explain to you more than it's just, I feel like it's the most challenging. I feel like it's the most rewarding to catch. But because I've caught largemouth, I'm just dying to go up there and catch me some smallmouth bass.
That's awesome. I haven't caught a smallmouth yet either, so it's pretty high on the top of mine too.
Yeah, man. I see these photos with these football sized smallmouths, and I'm like, and people are like, but wait a minute, you catch these big largemouths, these mammoths in Florida. I'm like, dude, trust me. When you're born with a species of fish, you're gonna have those bucket list fish that you want to catch, and that's one of mine for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Grass is always greener on the other side.
Exactly. But don't get me wrong, largemouth bass is still up there.
Absolutely. What about a particular spot? Is there one of those you hadn't been to yet that you definitely want to make it to?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't been to the Fellsmere reservoir down here, and it's one of those things that everybody that tells me, they're like, you haven't been there? I'm like, I live not close because I live close to the Keys, way down in Florida. So it takes about 3 hours and a half to drive to get to I think it's West Palm where this is located. Fellsmere. If you're ever down here in Florida, I recommend it. They just opened it up for boat ramp. They just put a boat ramp there, so they opened it up for boats. But all that time the boats weren't there. It was like a heaven. It was Disney World for big, huge double-digit bass.
Oh man!
And I never got the chance to go.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Well, we are going to move into a segment here. We do it with all of our guests at the end of the episode just to kind of have a little bit of fun. It's called "What's Your Favorite?" It's pretty self-explanatory, but I just ask your favorite in a few different categories.
Okay.
Now, off the air, you mentioned that that you've read the Bible, you've read other religious scriptures and stuff. Do you have a particular scripture from anywhere across the board that's your favorite?
Oh, scripture and favorite. I mean, it's been a while since I've read the Bible. To be honest with you, it's been a while. But man, I wouldn't be able to recite one. To be honest with you.
For sure.
Do I have one that's my favorite? Man, I guess the King James, because it's the one I've always read since I was small, so it would have to be them. But that's a very vague question because there's a lot that I've read. I to pick a favorite.
Yeah, for sure. And what about a particular story from the Bible or from the Quran or anything that you've read that really stands out to you?
Really stands out to me. Juice, you're putting me there in the spot. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this again, wow. I'll put it to you this way. I can't recite all of it right now, but I'll tell you this. Most of what Jesus did, most of what's written about Jesus and what he did and all the miracles they said that he did for the people that he was trying to help at the time and at that particular moment in his life. The fact that he was the savior and everybody considered him the savior, the fact that he was crucified and the reasons why he was crucified, I think they're all really great things and sacrifices that he made for us.
Absolutely. How about an easy one? What's your favorite fish to catch?
Favorite fish to catch? Well, it'll be a largemouth.
All right. And what about your favorite fish to fish for?
Favorite fish to fish for? Well, if a catch is to fish for, it would have to be largemouth. But I mean, let's change it up. Maybe a peacock bass. Mm-hmm.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
What about your favorite fish to eat?
Fish to eat. Okay, so that would have to be. It's a lot that I'm thinking. Man, brother, you ask these questions. I'm like in the middle of like fishing heaven here, so it's like I've eaten so many fish. I like snook.
I'm sorry?
Snook.
Snook.
And if you haven't tried it, you got to try it.
I have not tried it.
Oh, snook is good.
I'll definitely have to try it.
And then my second would, I know you didn't ask it, but my second one after that would have to be, these are saltwater related because I'm not really into freshwater fish, as far as eating them. Would have to be a snapper.
Absolutely. Awesome. And since we're talking about eating, what's your favorite fish to snack to eat while you're out fishing?
Fish to snack to eat?
Just.
Oh, you mean a snack to eat while I'm out fishing?
Yeah.
Beef jerky would have to be my number one.
Okay.
And then any type of chips is, I like to snack on any type of chip.
All right. Any particular flavor or brand of beef jerky that's your favorite?
Man, to remember the names. Okay. What's that Bigfoot one?
That's the Jack Links.
That's it right there. I'm not really good with names when it comes to those things. I just buy it and I eat it. I'm not.
I hear you. All right. Well, I will not ask for GPS coordinates or secret spots or anything. But what's your favorite body of water to fish on?
Favorite body of water to fish on would have to be, and this is something since I've been on a kayak, I actually had the pleasure of fishing for my first tournament was in the Kissimmee chain.
Awesome.
Really enjoyed that one.
Absolutely. That one, I saw a bunch of pictures from a bunch of different anglers from that one, and that one looks like one I'm going to have to visit if I ever get the chance.
It's very beautiful, man. You have to. Yeah.
All right.
Legendary lake.
Awesome. So again, I don't want to give away too many of your secrets, but what's your favorite lure to throw?
Favorite lure to throw would be a torpedo, hidden torpedo.
Yes.
That's something that I caught my first fish with that. I landed one of my biggest fish with that, and I've caught almost every species down here with that.
That's awesome. I fell in love with topwater because of that lure.
Yeah. Even though I was introduced with like my first fishing was worming it, on the bottom.
Right.
But ever since I saw those explosions on TV, I was like, I got to do this. And the minute I hooked one on, I was really young at the time. I was hooked.
For sure. So I don't think there's a wrong way to fish a torpedo, but what's your go-to way to work that lure?
I would have to agree with you. I don't think there's a way not fish that, or a way that's wrong to fish it. But my best fishing, and the biggest explosion you're gonna get here is on a peacock bass. So as long as you're steady, as long as you keep moving the torpedo, you can jerk it a couple times. But as long as you're really quicker than you would a bass, a largemouth, that's my favorite method to do, is just to rip it and then hit it a couple times like a plug, and you'll be on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And last but not least, what's your favorite time of year to fish?
Favorite time of year to fish down here would have to be, actually right now, is spring. Or this is the ending of the spring, but I mean springtime would be my preferred down here.
Awesome. It's hard to think of June as the end of spring in Florida, but I always think that,
I mean, it
like
does.
Summer.
It has. Yeah, no, I mean, for you guys, it's summer down here all the time. But I mean, for over here, it's, when I say summer, I mean it's a time where everything's kind of blossoming. You know what I mean? And
I got
you can tell, no matter what the weather is. Sometimes we have long winters, sometimes we have short winters, sometimes we have long summers, sometimes we don't. But you really tell when everything's kind of opening up and coming back to normal is right in that springtime. So.
Yeah, here in North Carolina, we've had like a week and a half of 90-degree days, so it's hard to think of spring anymore.
Yeah. Really can get to you.
All right, man. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. If you would, let us know what you've got coming up for you and for Tackle Fishing Adventures.
Well, man, again, it was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure being on board here. Yeah, man, I honestly, all my social media outlets, where I usually, like you say, I'm very consistent in my media. So if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me at Tackle Fishing Adventures, and that plugs in for all my other social media accounts. So you just look up Tackle Fishing Adventures. I should be on there, and that includes my YouTube channel. But other than that, man, I have really nothing planned very recent, because I'm right now I just underwent surgery for an umbilical hernia that I have to deal with. But I'm up and 100% on recovery now, so I'm just waiting to get back to work. Once I get back to work, I just do my own. I do me, man. I do my own thing. I usually try to fish, like I said, like once every other weekend, and try to get back into it. The summer for me, definitely, I'm trying to get involved with learning how to do the punching and flipping. So I'm gonna make sure hopefully I can share that with everybody on my page. So just stay tuned. I'm always involved with companies, so you probably see me with the Savior Outdoors. I'm trying to really do a good video for Corey for that product. I think it's one of the products where I'm very deeply involved in companies that are willing to help out and to have these ideas to save your investment. Because I'm an angler on a budget. I know there's a lot of anglers out there on a budget, and any company that's trying to fight in order for production, in order for you to have a product like that, I think is one that I really want to put in my social media and promote as much as I can.
Absolutely. And are there any other sponsors or supporters you want to give a shout out to?
Well, I give a shout out to Savior Outdoors. Now that we're at it. I'll give another shout out to a band of anglers. Those guys have been treating me really, really well. They like what I've been offering them. I guess Native, Bonafide, they're not sponsored. So these companies are not sponsors. I want to just clear that off. They're not sponsored, but they are companies that I'm working with and helping out promote, products that I really enjoy and really believe in. So that's about it. Nines Optics, if you guys are looking for a good pair of glasses that will last you long and that really are comfortable on your ears, and I have big ears, so I could be one of those to vouch for it. Very comfortable lenses. I've used every type of glasses out there. I've used Costas. I could throw out a bunch of other names, but this one seemed to be the best for me, and it really does help with your eyes. It's been proven. It helps with your retina. Those glares of the sun are very bad here, especially down in South Florida. So one of those, this company's been helping me out a lot too with that. And lastly, but shortly, and I'm not part of this company at all, but I really do enjoy their clothing, and that is AFCO.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've had a blast, and I wish you all the best, man.
No problem, man. Take care, bro. Be safe. Be safe, everybody.
Jade's Jigs, based out of Southwest Missouri, make finesse jigs without the lead. Jade's Jigs are made with an eco-friendly tin bismuth alloy that weighs less than lead, meaning you can get the same water displacement and profile size with less weight on your finesse presentation for the fish to feel. Jade's Jigs offers a variety of styles, including Ned heads, finesse EWG heads, and skirted finesse jigs, and they are ready to ship, so you get the custom quality without the custom weight. If all of that wasn't enough, they flat out catch fish. Head on over to jadesjigs.com, that's JADESJIGS.com, to see what they have to offer, and since you are a Faith and Fishing listener, you can use promo code FNF10 to save 10% on your order. Another huge thank you to Nicholas for coming on the show and talking brand building, peacock bass, and family with us. If you're not already following, definitely go check out Tackle Fishing Adventures on YouTube and Instagram, and I'll be leaving links in the show notes along with all things Faith and Fishing, Save Your Outdoors, a direct link to order your NRS Chinook from Get Outdoors, and Jade's Jigs. Now this episode wasn't as heavy on the faith side as some of the previous ones have been, but I got so much out of what Nicholas had to say, and I hope you did too. With so much of an us versus them attitude across the nation right now, Nicholas's attitude of respect and inclusion is something that I hope can be just as, if not more, contagious than COVID. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that while I am a Christian, and up until this point all of the guests on the show have been too, I hope that all faiths and creed from any fisherman can feel welcome on this platform. This podcast was meant to give fishermen an opportunity to share their faith, regardless of what that faith is. So if you are wanting to come on the show and share your faith and want to talk fishing, be sure to reach out to me. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless. Thank y'all for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Be sure to give us a rating and a review if you enjoy the show. And follow the show on Instagram at Faith and Fishing Pod or at facebook.com/Faith and Fishing. Be sure to reach out to one of the amazing pastors in your community if you have questions about faith, and make sure you join the Faith and Fishing community on Facebook. Special thanks goes to Tyler Worrell, the graphic designer behind the Faith and Fishing logo. The Faith and Fishing podcast is produced by Cam Steele, and the music for the show is written, recorded, and performed by Jonathan Inthlanzy and Cam Steele. Thanks again for listening. Y'all take care, and God bless.